Before we begin, if you love emotional military stories filled with betrayal, revenge, and powerful comebacks, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Your support helps this channel grow. Now, let's begin. The anonymous message reached Air Force Commander Amelia Carter in the middle of a classified flight operation. 3 words. Your fiancé lies. At 34,000 feet, Amelia's hands stayed perfectly steady on the controls of her fighter jet. That was the terrifying thing about her, even when her world shook. She didn't. At 32, Amelia had become one of the youngest Air Force commanders in service history. The media called her the Iron Falcon, cold under pressure. Unshakable in combat, precise, ruthless, brilliant. Her squadron trusted her with their lives. Her enemies feared her, but no training prepared her for betrayal from the man she loved. 2 hours later, Amelia returned to base. She removed her helmet and walked. Through the command hangar, pilots straightened when she passed. Everyone respected Commander Carter. No one saw the message still burning in her mind. Your fiancé lies, no proof, no sender, just accusation. She almost dismissed it, almost. But intuition had kept her alive for years, and tonight, something felt wrong. Her fiancé, Ethan Walker, opened the apartment door with a smile. Perfect smile, perfect posture, perfect voice. Everything about Ethan looked carefully crafted. He kissed her forehead. Long mission, standard. He moved to the kitchen, cooking dinner. Steak, her favorite. He remembered everything. That was one reason she fell for him. 3 years ago, at a charity event for military families, Ethan had been charming without being pushy, smart without arrogance, attentive without suffocating. He listened when she spoke. Or at least, she thought he did. Amelia had never been easy to love. Military command made relationships difficult. Late night calls, emergency deployments, classified. Work? Trust wasn't optional. It was survival. Ethan said he understood. He told her, I don't need constant attention. I just need honesty. That sentence made her trust him. Now it haunted her. At dinner, Amelia watched him carefully. No nervousness, no guilt, no signs. Too clean, too calm. She put down her fork, then asked, Are you cheating on me? Silence. 1 second, 2. Then Ethan laughed, actually laughed. What? Answer me. His smile faded, not offended, measured, controlled. He leaned back. No, short, simple, confident. Then came the redirect. Who told you that? Amelia's eyes sharpened. There it was. Not concern, not confusion. Control. People under interrogation often answered questions with questions. Ethan just had. She knew because she had spent years reading micro-expressions. Still, she said nothing. At 2:13 a.m., another message arrived, this time with a photo. Amelia opened it and froze. The picture showed Ethan inside an upscale restaurant. Across from him sat a blonde woman, beautiful, elegant. Young, his hand rested over hers. Intimate, personal, not business. The caption below read, He tells her you're emotionally unstable. Amelia felt ice in her veins. Emotionally unstable? Her jaw tightened. Then another message arrived. Tomorrow, p.m. Harrington Hotel, room 814, no signature, nothing else. The next day, Amelia functioned like normal. Morning briefing, tactical review, flight readiness inspections. No one noticed anything, but inside, a war had started. She needed proof, not emotion. Proof. At 6:52 p.m., Amelia entered Harrington Hotel wearing civilian clothes and a baseball cap. She moved silently. Years of military training made surveillance natural. She Reached room 814. Door slightly open. Voices inside. A woman. Laughing. Ethan's voice. Then she heard him, and everything changed. Amelia's useful. Olivia. Amelia stopped breathing. Useful? Ethan continued. She has access, influence, military connections. Once we marry, doors open. The woman laughed. And if she finds out? Ethan chuckled. Cold, cruel. Nothing like the man she knew. She won't. Pause. Then words that shattered everything. She's brilliant in uniform. But emotionally? Easy to manipulate, Olivia smirked. You don't love her? Ethan laughed again, a laugh Amelia had never heard. Dark, mocking. Love? Please, silence. Then, she's a strategic asset. Amelia felt something inside her die. 3 years. Engagement. Promises. All. Calculated. All fake. Olivia spoke again. And the defense contract? Defense contract? Amelia's military instincts activated instantly. Ethan lowered his voice. But she heard enough. Once I access what Hawthorne needs, we're set. Amelia's blood ran cold. Hawthorne. Air Marshal. Richard Hawthorne. Senior command. Powerful, untouchable. Why was Ethan discussing him? What access? What contract? This wasn't just infidelity. This was bigger, much bigger. Amelia stepped back from the door. Her heartbreak disappeared. Training took over. Patterns aligned. Anonymous. Warning. Cheating. Manipulation. Defense. Contract. Air Marshal Hawthorne. This smelled like corruption. Possibly espionage. Possibly treason. And suddenly, this wasn't personal anymore. It was military. Inside, Ethan said something that made her freeze. The wedding is in 6 weeks. After that, Carter won't even realize. She delivered everything herself. Olivia laughed. Poor Commander Carter. Amelia slowly lifted her phone. Pressed record. Captured. Every word. Every lie. Every betrayal. Then she walked. Away, silent, controlled, deadly. Because Ethan still thought he was hunting prey. He had no idea. He had just declared war on an Air Force commander, and Amelia Carter never lost wars. She reached her car, hands finally shaking, not from fear, from rage and heartbreak. Tears filled her eyes, not because Ethan cheated, but because he never existed. The man she loved was a mask, a weapon pointed at her. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. A female voice whispered, Now you know. Amelia's voice hardened. Who are you? Silence. Then, if you want the truth about Hawthorne, trust no one inside your command. Click, call ended. Amelia stared ahead. No one inside command? Impossible, unless... The betrayal reached higher than Ethan, higher than Hawthorne, higher than she imagined. Then her secure military phone buzzed. Incoming priority message. From command. Urgent. Report to base immediately. Security breach under investigation. Amelia's heartbeat slowed. Predator calm returned, because one thought hit her. What if the breach had already begun? And what if she had just become the target? Amelia now knows Ethan betrayed her, but she has just discovered something far more dangerous. Someone inside the Air Force may be leaking classified intelligence, and she may be walking straight into a trap. Commander Amelia. Carter didn't move for a full 10 seconds. The secure message glowed on her phone. Urgent. Report to base immediately. Security breach under investigation. A coincidence? No, Amelia didn't believe in coincidences anymore. Not after what she heard at Harrington Hotel. Not after Ethan. Walker called her a strategic asset. She started the engine. But instead of driving straight to base, she changed direction. Within 20 minutes, Amelia arrived at an off-grid military storage facility, one only accessible through her command clearance. Inside was a private secure terminal. No surveillance, no tracking. No eyes, She inserted her encrypted drive. The recording from the hotel played back. Ethan's voice filled the room. She won't suspect anything until after the wedding. Olivia's laugh. And the Air Marshal? Ethan lowered his voice. Hawthorne gets what he needs. She signs off on the logistics without even realizing. Amelia paused the recording. Her expression didn't change. But inside, everything locked into place. This wasn't just betrayal, it was systematic infiltration. Air Marshal Richard Hawthorne wasn't just a senior officer. He controlled defense procurement channels, classified flight routing permissions, international weapons contracts. If Ethan had access to him, then Amelia wasn't just being cheated on. She was being used to leak military data. And worst of all, it meant someone high up was involved, someone who should have protected her. Her secure phone buzzed. Again, this time. Command order. Amelia Carter to report for internal review. Immediately. Amelia stared at it, then whispered, "Too fast. A security breach investigation didn't escalate this quickly, unless someone was already framing her." When Amelia arrived, the atmosphere was wrong. Too quiet. Too structured. Like everyone had been briefed about her before she arrived. 2 military police officers stood at the entrance. Waiting. For her. Captain. Reeves stepped forward, formal cold. "Commander Carter, you're required for questioning." Amelia removed her gloves slowly. "On what grounds?" Reeves avoided her eyes for half a second. That was enough. Unauthorized access attempts to classified logistics files. A pause. Then the real strike and suspected connection to Air Marshal. Hawthorne's internal audit. Amelia's heartbeat slowed. So that was it. She was already inside a fabricated narrative. Someone had moved first, and they had moved smart. Inside the interrogation room, Amelia sat perfectly straight, not nervous, not defensive, just observing. Across from her sat Colonel Mason Clark, Internal Security Division, a man she had worked with for years, a man she trusted. He didn't look at her like a colleague. He looked at her like a suspect. "Commander Carter, we have reason to believe your fiancé is involved in unauthorized contact with foreign intermediaries." Amelia didn't react. She already knew that part, but then Mason added, "Something worse, and evidence suggests you may have facilitated access." That made her pause. Not because it was true, but because it was designed to sound true. Amelia leaned forward slightly. "Show me the evidence." Mason slid a file across the table. Inside, fake login logs, altered access timestamps, her encrypted credentials listed on unauthorized downloads. Amelia studied it silently. Then she spoke. Calm, precise. "This is manufactured." Mason didn't respond immediately. That silence told her everything. He wasn't here to investigate. He was here to confirm a conclusion. While Amelia was inside interrogation, Ethan Walker was inside the base. Not detained, not questioned, escorted, protected. He stood in the hallway speaking to Air Marshal Hawthorne directly. Amelia didn't see this, but if she had, she would have noticed something terrifying. Ethan wasn't nervous. He was confident, even smiling. Hawthorne spoke quietly. "She suspects anything?" Ethan shook his head. "No, she thinks it's personal betrayal." "Exactly as planned." Hawthorne nodded. "Good. Emotional distraction increases compliance." Ethan smiled faintly. "She'll approve the final logistics transfer next week. After that, everything routes through her command signature." Hawthorne turned away. Then she becomes irrelevant. Back inside interrogation, Amelia looked at the file again. Then something clicked. Too many perfect alignments. Too clean. Too structured. This wasn't a mistake. It was choreography. She looked up. "Where is Ethan Walker right now?" Mason hesitated, just slightly. "He's assisting in the investigation." Amelia almost smiled. That was the lie. A civilian fiancé doesn't assist Air Force internal security. Unless he wasn't just a fiancé, he was embedded. Her voice dropped, cold, Controlled. You're not investigating him. A pause. You're protecting him. Mason's expression hardened. That confirmed it. The door opened suddenly. A junior officer stepped in. Whispered something to Mason. His face changed. For the first time. Real tension. He looked at Amelia, then said quietly, "Commander Carter, Air Marshal Hawthorne has ordered your immediate suspension pending inquiry." Silence. Amelia exhaled slowly. Not shocked. Not broken. Just focused. Because now she understood something important. She wasn't being questioned. She was being removed. Quietly. Before she could see the full picture. Before she could defend herself. Before she could strike back. As they stood to escort her out, Amelia's phone vibrated inside her pocket. A hidden encrypted message. Unknown sender. One line. "They are moving faster than you think. Trust only what you can prove yourself." Amelia closed her fist around the phone. And for the first time, she stopped being the accused and started becoming something far more dangerous, a commander with nothing left to lose. Amelia has been suspended, framed, and isolated from command. Ethan is still inside the system, and Air Marshal Hawthorne is now officially controlling the investigation. But Amelia just received one warning: trust no one. In Part 3, she goes completely off record and begins building her own private counter-operation inside the Air Force itself. If you're still watching, you're witnessing the moment this story turns from betrayal into war. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. No trust, Commander Amelia Carter sat alone in a holding office inside the base. Not a cell, not officially detained, but functionally isolated. Her access cards were deactivated, her flight clearance suspended, her squadron reassigned. It was a clean removal, designed to look procedural, but Amelia saw what it really was. Control, not punishment. Containment. She opened the encrypted message again. "They are moving faster than you think. Trust only what you can prove yourself." No signature, no trace. But Amelia already knew one thing. Whoever sent it had access to internal Air Force channels. That meant only a few possibilities. Intelligence Division high-level command, or someone already inside Hawthorne's circle. She didn't guess. She analyzed and eliminated emotion. That was her strength. She stood up, walked to the small window. Base lights stretched across the runway, jets she used to command. Now she couldn't even access the hangar. That didn't matter, because command authority was only one type of power, and she still had others. Amelia requested one thing, a phone call. Denied. She requested legal counsel. Denied. She requested access to her personal effects. Delayed. Every response was designed to slow her down, to make her passive, to make her wait. That was their mistake, because waiting never worked on Amelia Carter. At 02:14 a.m., she did something illegal. She accessed the base maintenance grid using an old engineering override she had memorized during training simulations. Not authorized anymore. But not erased either. Military systems always had legacy backdoors. Most people forgot that. Amelia didn't. She restored partial power to a dormant internal terminal. Just enough. Not enough to trigger alarms. Just enough to listen. System logs appeared. Encrypted communication threads. Her eyes narrowed. One thread stood out. Project Hawthorne access route active. Her breath slowed. She opened it. Inside were routing notes for classified defense transfers, signed digitally, not by Ethan, but linked to his credentials. Then she saw it. A scheduled transfer window. Next week, 0400 hours, final authorization required. Carter. Amelia froze. Her name, her signature. They were waiting for her approval, without her knowing, meaning someone intended to force authentication under manipulated conditions. This wasn't just framing. This was identity exploitation at command level. Amelia pulled another file, personnel integration logs, and there it was, Ethan Walker, not just civilian, not just fiancé. He had been embedded civilian consultant, Defense Logistics Optimization Program. Assigned directly under Air Marshal Hawthorne's office, 3 years ago, the same time he met Amelia. Amelia whispered, "So it was never random." Everything aligned, the gala, the charm, the relationship, her vulnerability. All of it was scheduled. Not love. Deployment. For a moment, her hand tightened, just slightly. 3 years of trust, 3 years of emotional investment, all engineered. But Amelia didn't break. She didn't cry. She didn't spiral. She classified it. Filed it mentally as hostile manipulation confirmed. That was how she survived, not by ignoring emotion, but by converting it into structure. Amelia now had 3 confirmed truths. Ethan was embedded. Hawthorne was orchestrating a defense-level operation. She was being positioned as the final authorization key, which meant one thing. She was still inside their system. And that meant she could still use it. She accessed a secondary communication line. Not official. Not traceable. Old pilot-to-pilot emergency channel, used only in extreme conditions. She sent one message, to someone she trusted from her early career. Captain. James Anderson message. I need everything you have on Hawthorne. No questions. Then she added, and I think I'm being used as authorization bait. 3 dots appeared, typing. Then stopped. Then started again. Finally. I'll meet you. But if this is real, you're already inside something bigger than you think. Amelia closed her eyes for a second. Not fear, focus. Meanwhile, inside Hawthorne's secured office, Ethan stood in front of a screen, frowning. Her access logs are changing. Hawthorne turned slowly. Explain. Ethan tapped the system. She's been suspended. She shouldn't be able to touch any infrastructure. Pause. Then, but someone is moving inside legacy systems. Hawthorne's eyes narrowed, cold, controlled. Is she resisting? Ethan shook his head. No, she's adapting. That was the first real tension. Because Amelia Carter adapting meant something dangerous. She was no longer emotional. She was strategic again. Hawthorne leaned back. Then accelerate phase 2. Ethan hesitated. That will expose internal channels. Hawthorne's voice dropped. I don't care about exposure. A pause. Then the real truth. I care about control. Amelia stood in the dark maintenance room, staring at the glowing terminal. One message remained open, from Captain James Anderson. Meet me at Sector 7 hangar. 600 hours. Don't trust anyone escorting you. She exhaled slowly. Then closed the terminal. Outside, sirens briefly flickered. Not full alarm, just a warning pulse. Someone noticed movement. Too late. Amelia had already slipped back into the system, not as a prisoner, not as a suspect, but as something far more dangerous, a commander rebuilding her war from inside enemy lines. Amelia now has proof of an embedded operation, but she is still trapped inside the base. James Anderson wants to meet her, but warns her not to trust anyone escorting her. And Ethan has just learned she is no longer emotionally reacting. She is actively countering. Amelia risks everything by stepping outside containment to meet the one man who might expose the truth, or betray her completely. The air inside Sector 7 felt wrong. Too quiet, too controlled. Commander Amelia Carter stood near the shadow line of the hangar doors, her civilian jacket hiding her uniform underneath. She was technically still suspended, still under internal review, still contained. But she had learned something important. Containment only works if the subject stays inside the cage. And Amelia Carter was no longer inside the cage. She was moving through its blind spots. A voice came from behind her. Calm, measured, familiar. You came alone. Amelia turned. Captain James Anderson, Royal Air Force liaison attached to Joint Intelligence Operations. Sharp eyes, no unnecessary emotion. The kind of man who didn't waste words. Amelia responded, I don't trust escorts. A pause. James nodded once. Good. Because if you were escorted, you'd already be dead or detained again. Straight to the point. That confirmed everything Amelia feared. James led her inside the hangar control room. Old lights flickered. He locked the door behind them, then placed a folder on the table. No digital trace. Paper only. That alone was serious. James spoke quietly. Air Marshal Hawthorne is not acting alone. Amelia didn't react. She already suspected that. James continued. He's part of a covert procurement manipulation network operating across 3 defense bases. Amelia's eyes narrowed slightly. And Ethan Walker? James didn't hesitate. Embedded asset. Recruited years ago. Not just logistics. A pause. Then the line that shifted everything. He's a handler. Amelia's expression finally changed. Just slightly. Handlers didn't follow orders. They controlled people who did. James opened the file. Inside, Ethan Walker's classified recruitment profile, psychological targeting reports, relationship insertion strategy, behavioral mapping of Amelia Carter. Amelia scanned it silently, then stopped on one line. Primary objective, establish emotional dependency with target. Officer to gain indirect access to command-level authorization. Protocols. She closed the file. Slowly. Not anger, not shock. Something. Colder clarity. James watched her. Carefully. They didn't just want your access. Amelia. A pause. They wanted your judgment. That hit harder than betrayal. Because judgment was everything she built her career on. James slid another photo forward. Olivia Monroe, Ethan's. Mistress? Amelia stared. James said, she's not a random affair partner. Amelia? Already knew, James confirmed. She's intelligence adjunct. Same network, a controlled insertion partner, designed to reinforce emotional destabilization, a psychological pressure loop. Love betrayal, doubt isolation, all engineered, all intentional. Amelia leaned back slightly. Her voice was low. So everything was a system. James nodded. Yes. Meanwhile, inside Hawthorne's secured operations room, Ethan stared at the live system feed. Something was wrong. Logs didn't match expected behavior. Access traces were shifting, not external breach, internal recalibration. He turned to Hawthorne. She's inside legacy systems. Again, Hawthorne's expression hardened. Impossible. She's suspended. Ethan shook his head. She's not trying to access command systems. A pause. Then, she's rebuilding them. Silence. Filled the room. That was worse. Far worse. Because rebuilding meant understanding, and understanding meant control reversal. Hawthorne stood slowly. Then end it. Ethan hesitated. If we move now, we risk exposure. Hawthorne's voice dropped. We were exposed the moment she stopped believing. Back in the hangar, James handed Amelia a final file. Inside was a scheduled operation. Project Hawthorne, final authorization execution, timestamp. Hours. Amelia studied it, then asked, what happens if I don't authorize it? James replied, they trigger a fallback signature protocol. Pause. Then, your credentials will be simulated. Your authority will be impersonated. Amelia exhaled slowly. So that was the end game, even if she resisted. They would still use her name. She stood up. Then I end the system. James looked at her. Carefully. That system includes people at your rank. Amelia met his eyes. Then I remove the parts that are corrupt. No. Hesitation. No doubt. Just command authority returning. As Amelia and James exited the hangar, alarms suddenly pulsed in the distance. Not full lockdown. Targeted. Alert, James muttered. They know you're active. Amelia didn't slow down. No, she corrected. No, I'm thinking again. That was worse, because thinking officers were harder to control than armed ones. A vehicle approached, unmarked. James tensed. But Amelia raised a hand. Stand down, the vehicle stopped. Door opened. A pilot stepped out. Of her former squadron members, he looked nervous. Commander, they're activating internal arrest protocols. Amelia nodded once. I know. The pilot hesitated. Are you coming back? That question carried weight. Amelia looked toward the base lights in the distance, then answered, I never left. Inside Hawthorne's command room, Ethan watched the system stabilize again. Then suddenly, a message appeared on the screen. Manually injected. No traceable origin. Just one line. You built your plan on my ignorance. That was your mistake. Ethan froze. Hawthorne stepped closer. Who sent that? Ethan whispered, her. Amelia is no longer running or reacting. She is actively controlling the system from inside its blind spots. James confirms Ethan is not just a deceiver, but a trained handler in a larger covert network. And now Hawthorne realizes the most dangerous outcome. Amelia Carter is no longer the target. She is becoming the operator. The final confrontation begins inside the Air Force command system itself, where Amelia will expose everything or be erased trying. Inside the Air Force command network, everything moved toward execution. Project Hawthorne. Final authorization. The system was preparing to accept Amelia Carter's identity. Signature. Even without her approval, a digital ghost version of her. Command authority was being assembled. But Amelia was already inside the system too. Not as a victim, as a counterforce. Ethan Walker stared at the screen. She's inside the authentication layer. Hawthorne's voice was cold. Then isolate her. But Ethan hesitated for the first time. Doubt entered his voice. She's not reacting emotionally anymore. A pause. She's predicting us. That changed everything, because emotional manipulation worked on broken targets, not calculated commanders. In a secure override terminal, Amelia inserted her final access key. Not to approve the operation, but to expose it, she triggered a full audit broadcast across internal military intelligence channels, every hidden file, every falsified log, every embedded recruitment record, all of it unlocked and sent upward. Alarms exploded across command systems, not breach. Alarms. Exposure alarms. Officers across the base froze as classified data suddenly became visible to oversight divisions. Hawthorne's network was collapsing in real time. In the command center, Hawthorne turned slowly as doors opened. Amelia Carter stepped in. Calm uniform restored, eyes steady. James stood behind her. Ethan was already there, waiting. Hawthorne spoke first. You think this is justice? Amelia replied. No, a pause. This is correction. Ethan stepped forward. It was never personal. Amelia looked at him. Long silence. Then, that's where you were wrong. Not anger, finality. Within minutes, internal command integrity systems flagged Hawthorne's entire operation. The military security units moved, and Ethan was detained. Olivia Monroe's identity was exposed as embedded intelligence support. Hawthorne was removed from command. Authority, silently, completely. Weeks later, Amelia stood on the airfield again, no longer suspended. Now, reinstated. Higher authority offered her promotion. She refused, not out of defeat, but clarity. James approached. What now? Amelia looked at the sky. Jets taking off. Calm returned. We rebuild what they tried to corrupt. A new mission file opened in her system. Counterintelligence Air Command Unit Lead. CDR Amelia Carter. She stared at it, then accepted. No hesitation. No emotion clouding judgment. Just purpose. The woman they tried to break became the system that exposed them all. Commander Amelia Carter, the Iron Falcon, was no longer a target. She was the standard.